Alright, this is JT. I want to talk about IST 346, a required course for IMNT majors, high school majors. Again, that's IST 346, Information Technology Management and Administration. Official summary is Information Technology Management Principles and Practices, Administration of Computers, Operating Systems and Applications, Tools and Techniques for Managing Information Technology Operations, includes hands-on labs. That last part is very true, as it's an hour and a half twice a week. One day is the lecture, second day is lab work. The lecture stuff is very jam-packed with information. It covers a lot about the field of system and network administration. I kept the slides because there's so much useful information in there for future reference. There's a lot in there, a lot. It doesn't go too far in depth, and it doesn't always so into the labs, but the information is very relevant because they all deal with system administration and things you'd have to deal with if you were to become some type of network or systems administration. And that includes software, hardware, and policies. Labs. So I said that 1 or 2 days a week is spent on labs. They have an entire outline that is shared with everyone. The many things that the labs will cover is in this particular order. Last time I checked, installing 3 operating systems, which would be Windows 10, Windows Server 2012, and Linux Ubuntu Server. Let me try this again. Linux Ubuntu Server operating system. Not Linux Ubuntu, Linux Ubuntu Server. So the big reason I say that is, this is going to be I'm making it as quick as possible, my little quick rant. Many people argue that Linux is too hard to use because you have to use the command line, and after taking this course, I quickly realized this is what many other students are talking about when they say that. They're saying that they believe it's hard to use because most of the stuff we do on Linux Ubuntu Server is done in the command line. It's done in the terminal. It's not that you can't do these same tasks in a GUI application, but that's what's mainly installed. Now, many of the GUI software isn't installed for many of the things that we're meant to do, and the command line is always more powerful. But that's different rant for another day. Important, and most importantly, is this Ubuntu Server. So like I said, installing Windows 10, Windows Server 2012, Linux Ubuntu Server. Then you go into learning the command line interface and the user interface, the graphic user interface basics in the different operating systems, because one, a lot of people aren't very familiar with Linux Ubuntu Server. And I forgot to mention that it's with the Xubuntu desktop environment, which was interesting. I'm an XFCE guy myself, but I usually just get rid of that. Anyways, Windows 2012 is pretty similar, just minor differences, pretty much the same as Windows 10 in regards to many things as far as, Windows. But learning how to do basic things in the command line, how to navigate, find files, edit files, plenty more. Then you go into Samba networking protocols on Linux, how to build share drives and access them between the three, because the 3 operating systems are linked in their own network, so you can bounce between them and do things with each other. You have your own 3 virtual machines on, I hope I don't screw this, I think it's vSphere. So you have your own network of these 3 operating systems that communicate with each other. You're bouncing back and forth between the shared drives, working on the firewall settings. You're learning Active Directory on Windows, creating users and user groups. And then later on after that, you get into email accounts with them using a program called Mail Enable. There's also working on group and local policies. The easiest example would be enforcing a standard for passwords, so someone can't simply use the same password every time they reset, or maybe ensuring that it's the Windows standard. I think it's 14 characters, 2 special characters, 2 numbers, 2 capital and 2 lowercase letters, something similar to that. Then you go into backups, and at the end you download WordPress on your server, and you make a post or 2 to understand how to use WordPress, very basic stuff, and then you do a troubleshooting at the very end. Alongside all of that, those lectures and labs, there's also you get a group project where you work with a couple people on a project where it's debates. And if I remember correctly, there were 3 or 4. One was, the one I did, the course would be Linux versus Windows, which would be the best to use for, I think it was server Server OS. So Windows Server 2012 or Linux Ubuntu Server. The other one would be, I think it was cloud versus data. How am I forgetting? Data space? No. Data storage? No, that's not it. I'm gonna need to look this up. How am I? Data lab? Hold on, let me look this up. Data center. Oh my goodness. Data center. Where was I? Okay. Yeah, one debate was cloud storage versus data centers and where to put it. Another one would have been Google Docs versus Microsoft 365. I'm not looking that one up. Whatever, Google Docs to whatever Microsoft's version of it is. And I think that one was interesting because the main argument both sides had was Google Hangouts and Skype, which both suck. I'm throwing my bias out there. I don't like Skype because it's owned by Microsoft and said to be skimmed and then be sending information to people for whatever reason. And they just recently started supporting it on Linux, what I've been told. Last time I saw it, it looked horrible. And Google Hangouts, I've never even touched because it's Google. Just don't care to try to figure that one out. I probably end up using it for work sooner or later anyway. So I mentioned Jitsi, told them neither one really matters because Jitsi is open source and it's the greatest thing ever. And they both looked at me like I was ridiculous and just kept quiet. That was interesting. Not sure there was another one, but like I said, mine was Linux versus Windows Server, and that one got real interesting. A lot of people had a lot of questions. I could probably share my slides. I could probably do that. I can upload my slides somewhere on my blog and put a link in the comments if someone's interested. But I pretty much summed it around security. The fact that there are over 200 Linux operating systems. Linux Ubuntu server is but one operating system. There are plenty others. I also went over the fact that there was a GUI application for using the firewall, which is GUFW, which is I would say very popular, if not the standard. I haven't seen another one like it. Hell, GUFW comes standard on many operating systems, many Linux distros I've used. I think Zorin is one, and I can't remember any others. But that was interesting. And outside of that, you can go ahead as far as you want in the labs, and the professors and people are usually pretty quick to help. There is a TA, and they help out anytime they can. 346, I think I'd call 346 my favorite. I probably shouldn't say that so objectively right now, but it's definitely one of my favorite courses I've taken here yet. So that's my good bit of rant on lectures, labs, group project, IST 346. Yes, it can get pretty difficult and challenging at times, but you get into a halt in Stack Exchange, Google, DuckDuckGo, whatever you use for searching stuff, Quora, I think I pronounced that right, or the man pages. If that don't help you out, the professor will. And at the end of every lab, you run this special script that they made, and they'll check for those certain things, and it updates your grade automatically, from what I recall, and you'll see exactly how you're doing. It's pretty stabilized system. IST 346. Good stuff. Go live lively. Orange.